honestly, Dutch cinema doesn't really exist, but we do have we have some movies, and the consensus is for many years that you have like out of 4 movies, you have 1 kids movie and 1 war movie on average. And by war movie, I mean World War II related movie. Specifically to the occupation of the Nazis of the Netherlands, because that is the subject of today. And so I'm gonna showcase a bunch of movies that have showcased this and don't get much press because some of them don't even have an English subtitles.
Wouldn't it be true that the Diary of Anne Frank would be the only thing that is actually known in the world outside the Netherlands about Dutch literature, specifically to the Second World War?
Yeah, and I'm going to explain to you why we don't have an Anne Frank film in this little list of mine. Because the problem with World War II, especially just after the war, is trauma. This is the national trauma for many, 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 many years. So when you start to think, okay, now I want to make anything out of it. The first film they made was a film called The Overval. The English title is A Silent Raid, which was about the only thing that actually went right for the resistance. The only event in December 1944, the resistance organized a raid on it is a huis van bewaring, and it's kind of what this is. Is it a prison? Is it it is where they put the prisoners before they go to the next stop of prisoning.
During arrest.
Yeah, just afterwards, a little bit after arrest. So there was at that time in that huis of bewaring over 50 resistance fighters had been caught, and people were worried that they were going to get tortured and information was going to come out, so they put in a raid, and it was a success. It was very difficult, but it was a success, and they made a movie about it. I do recommend the movie. I think you're going to have to look for something with subtitles, but now we come to the problem of all these movies is this movie is made for Dutch people, and it's made in 1962, which is not that much after the war, not even 20 years after the war. And all you have to say to a Dutch person at the time is like this: the smallest of information, and they know everything. And this movie, it don't tell you nothing if you don't already know. And so accessibility for the rest of the audience, even though it's a good movie, they've got in a really good director. They actually got a director from somewhere else. They had somebody, but he was more of a documentary director, and so they got into somebody who's actually good at it. They got a coach because the director was not Dutch, so they got another person to do the direction of the dialogues, and it's all good, but not accessible, I think, for anybody who doesn't know. I mean, if there was a Wikipedia page that goes through the entire thing and tells you, oh, this is that, and that is that, and that is that, and that is that, that would work. But there isn't one. I've checked. There is a Dutch Wikipedia page about the event that you can bong through Google Translate, and you'll get something usable. The other thing that I noticed about the movie is that it's, because of the trauma, they do it very flat.
Unemotional?
Yeah, kind of unemotional. And the fact that it's unemotional is, yeah, that's going to be a thing. Now the next film on my list is the most famous film of all, Soldaat van Oranje, Soldier of Orange. 1977, Paul Verhoeven. I believe it's Paul Verhoeven, yeah.
Yes. Come on, Rutger Hauer. Dirk de Lind.
Yes. A lot of the people a lot of the people in that film, incidentally, became very famous in the Netherlands. Not some of them actually became famous internationally, but all of them are famous in the Netherlands.
Jan de Bond.
Yeah, Jan de Bond came with Paul Verhoeven to the States and career over there. Yes. Bye bye. Speed. Anyway, the interesting thing about this is also a true story. Let's start with that. Very important. The first one is a true story. This is a true story. It is the story of Erik Hazelhoff Hulsema. He has a different name in the film because Hazelhoff Hulsema is a little long. Doesn't really roll at the tongue very much. And but from his autobiography, which he wrote in 1971, which should give you indication this guy survived the war and it was all good. In fact, if you've seen the movie, the entire thing is a insane frolic through the world of World War II, from the Netherlands to England and back again and sideways and in the air. And my God, it is such a frolic. And yes, it is truth. He survived. But his situation is the exception. That's the problem with that entire setup. So if you only ever see this movie as a Dutch war movie, you see not as much happy war as the British and the Americans did, because the Americans did heroic war with machinery and airplanes and winning, and the Brits did smart war with infiltrating and winning, and the Dutch, we didn't have that experience. I'm sorry, we didn't. And we come then to our third movie on our list, which is the Meisje met het rode haar, the girl with the red hair. The story of Hannie Schaft, who was a student, law student by the way, and in the middle, and then the war happened in the middle of that, and what are you gonna do? So she became a resistance fighter, because of course she did. The movie is from 1981 with René Zoutendijk as the lead. The cast, again, we know, the Dutchies all know this cast. They are not as big a cast as Soldaat van Oranje. They don't have quite a budget of Soldaat van Oranje. But they have a really good book to start with. Not an autobiography, because Hannie Schaft did not survive the war. She was executed by the Germans. She was murdered by the Germans mere weeks before the end of the war. And everybody in the Netherlands already knows that before you even go see the movie. So this is not a spoiler in any way. This is history. She is one of there's a bunch famous resistance fighters. Her place where she was murdered, which was on Waalsdorp de Vlakte, the dunes near Den Haag, is now the place where they have our commemorative ceremony every year, which I invite you to go and see. It is going to be on Monday, May 4th. These are the times. There will be a 2-minute silence. There will be a ceremony in the Waalsdorpse Vlakte, and there is also a ceremony in Amsterdam. You can see either one of them on YouTube, I'm sure.
Every town in the Netherlands holds at that time a
visual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Movie is very interesting, but I couldn't find a version with subtitles. I do believe there was one. I saw it listed somewhere, but I couldn't get at it. So there, and I saw some Greek subtitles as an option. So, and there is weirdly a German dub on the DVD that I have. Has a Dutch original and a German dub, and I do understand it is also part of German history. the Germans are the biggest bad. This film does not make any bones about how bad the Germans were. My God. And yeah, Hannie started to commit assassinations. And they're showing that. What I liked about the movie is that in the Netherlands we don't have gun culture, like not at all, not before the war, not after the war, not now. So when she joins resistance, they give her a gun, and she sort of holds. And even the guy who gives her the gun has to also think about it, because he is also not part of gun culture. There's just nobody in the Netherlands who has learned to shoot at the farm or anything like that. Nobody. So this is new. This is foreign. This is strange. This is weird. It takes her a while to get into it. And the book is the biography by Teun de Vries from 1956, so an older one. It looks like it's really good. The film shows very slowly how she is radicalized towards going, I'm not stopping, because that's what happened. And there's a point that comes, and this is an interesting thing that I'm going to have to explain. In a lot of countries, the World War II ends in 1944. In the Netherlands, it ended in 1945. Because in 1944, in the middle, that's big summer offensive that actually freed a lot of countries. It freed half of the Netherlands, the southern half. The northern half was still occupied.
The middle and the northern.
The middle and the northern half, yeah. The big rivers and above. It was all still occupied. And the Germans, everybody knew it was over for the Germans. But they're not just going to give up. That's not how it works. So what happened was they held on. Everybody knew it was over, but they held on. They roped out the part of the Netherlands they still had of food, of rubber, of anything at all, and left us for a very nasty cold winter, the Hunger Winter. In this movie, and they don't exactly show when it happens, but in this movie, again, they don't say you who, but some high Dutch person who says, who has some sort of power to say something about the time after the war, comes to the resistance and says, please slow down your resistance actions. Because we've made a deal with the Germans that they will slow down and you will slow down, and then we will sort it all out after the war. And Hannie looks at that, and yeah, the peanut gallery also shakes her head. She does no. And book is from 56, and we now know Hannie was right, because what happened after the war, and this is not okay, is that yes, there were some trials, and there was a lot of investigations, and then some more investigations, and then there was a file, and then it was put on a shelf, and then, you know.
And a whole lot of pardons.
And so she kept going a couple of times more than she maybe ought to have, but I think she was right. She was right. She knew the people were going to chicken out on all those promises, and the story ends badly. We know that. We know quite a bit. So.
In the dramatization of Queen Wilhelmina's life, which is also a Dutch production that was for TV, they ended as well with her. She spent the war in England, and she was dead set to make the people who had collaborated on levels of power, to make them all pay for what they had done. And eventually she runs into the government saying, we have to stop doing this because it was everybody. And that meant that they wouldn't have anybody to run things.
Yeah.
Um,
But
and
you still want to punish the really bad ones, and that also didn't quite happen the way it should
no,
have.
no, and
So,
so they broke her by blocking her wishes.
yeah, yeah, and I can see that, and that's exactly what because Hannie was a student of law. She was nearly at the end of her studies when the Germans made all of that impossible. And she actually did her final exam sitting in a cafe across from the teacher and he said, well, now you have it, but I can't give you anything because I have nothing official to give you.
There's no university anymore.
Yeah, so yeah, I recommend this movie. Actually, so far I recommend all of them, but accessibility is going to be difficult. So 1981 was this movie, and so we made a movie that of a successful thing. We made a movie of a guy who survived gloriously, and then we made a movie about a girl who didn't. And then what is next? And there's a bunch of these, but I'm going to just pick one. Is a movie related to it, and the movie is called Leedvermaak. Which I'm not even going to translate because it doesn't work. It's about a family at a wedding. They have they have a big night with a wedding, and the entire family is there. They haven't been together for a while, and everybody has trauma from the war, and it all comes out. It's from 1989. Highly recommend, but it's not going to be. None of these films is going to be happy. So yeah. Keep that in mind. I don't know if you can find one with subtitles.
One way to translate might be commiserate.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. And it was very good, I have to say. Ooh, yes. As you come into the new millennium, it is now so many years after the war. The children of the children of the children are starting to go see the movies, and the children and their parents are making the movies. And the next film, I'm gonna go a little bit out of order. The next film I want to talk about is Oorlogswinter, the winter of war. And it is from 2008, but the book is Jan Terlouw from 1972, and everybody in the Netherlands, everybody has read this book. Everybody. I also recommend the book. Jan Terlouw is the best writer.
And it's on the school curriculum often.
Yeah, well, it wasn't on my school, but yes, this is because yes, it is a fiction. But Jan Terlouw was because it's a fiction about a young 13-year-old kid stuck in that northern part of the Netherlands where there is hunger, where there's nothing, and try to make it work for everyone. And yeah, it's a fiction, but Jan Terlouw happened to have been a 13-year-old kid right at that time at that place. So it's not, like I said, not autobiographical, but bloody close. And he is really a good writer. So I haven't seen this movie, but I'm going to imagine it's going to be absolutely awesome.
Jan Terlouw was quoted to say that great, done very well, the movie. He liked it. He said, except that all the kids looked way too healthy.
Yeah, of course. And that is a thing that is going to always be a thing. That in older days people are so much less healthy, and they look it because they're not just healthy this week, they're healthy the entire 10 or 10 years, and you can't make that.
Well, the kids were starving.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and you don't want to actually starve any kids, or you have to do like a CGI trick, which in 2008 was not an option yet. I didn't write it down, but he was Jan Terlouw was also very recently passed away. So yes, he had a very long career. He was in his time a politician, a writer, and a nuclear physicist. Yes, thank you. Next one in the fiction department is one called Zwartboek. And that one is grown up. 2006, like I said, so many years after the war. It's getting a little... I don't know if romanticized this is the right thing, but people haven't been through any of it, so we're making it up a little bit. And there's probably a very good movie. I haven't seen it. I don't want to see it because subject matter. But I should mention it. And then the last one I want to mention is Oorlogsgeheimen, which is another kids movie from 2014 about children. It's the same thing as Oorlogswinter, but now updated so many to the newer time. This is what we're doing with it, and I don't know if that is the right thing to do with this subject. I am more of the Meisje met Rode Haar kind of age of things. I had a weird experience with the... Let me explain. When people come to Amsterdam, they want to go to the Anne Frank house. By the way, there is no a Dutch film of Anne Frank because trauma is way up here. No, we don't want to be doing that. So we have an Anne Frank house, and I send people there. I don't go with them. But what I do is when I send them, I say, okay, you went to the Anne Frank house. Now you're going to the Verzetsmuseum, the Resistance Museum. Because there's two sides to this. It is not just Anne Frank with her story, and very important story, absolutely. But it's not all that's there. So, go to the Resistance Museum, and when I used to go 25, 30 years ago, they had all these the stuff from that age all set out, and you could have touched it if you wanted to, but I don't think anybody did. But very tangible, very there. And the last time I went with another group who wanted to go to Anne Frank house first, and then okay, you go there, I'll go sit in the cafe, and then we go to the Verzetsmuseum. We went, and at Verzetsmuseum everything is now behind glass. It's all light-up boxes, and nothing is tangible anymore. And I think that is telling. It is now so long ago. The distance they want to create the distance. They want to put glass between it and us. And I think that's dangerous. Actually, I think you shouldn't. I think it should be tangible. I think when we went to Tuschinski theater with this same set of people, we did a bunch of things. And Tuschinski theater, the movie theater, was built in the 20s, 30s by a Jewish family. And there is a bust. And so I went and showed them, okay, here's the bust. And I said, okay, these people were taken away in the war. Because that is part of the story. You know? And the movies, and especially the things like Soldaat van Oranje and Soldier of Orange, doesn't do what I think it ought to be doing for the Netherlands as to show how bad it was. It doesn't. It's a little bit, but sideways. And this guy is very happy-go-lucky. It's all fine in the end, you know.
History is written by those who survive.
Yeah, but we now know that if you don't keep repeating history and keep showing it again, that's why a film like Oorlogsgeheimen exists, for kids to showcase again. Oh, you learned this in history, and this is what it would look like if it was related to you. It is a thing that they did when we were kids in school, that you had to have history, but it had to be related to kids. And I'm going, whatever. But so there's room for that. And like I said, the Dutch film industry does a lot of kids film, because that one kid film, there's going to be, out of 4, there's going to be one kid film. Also because all the other entertainment in isn't going to be in American, and it's fine to have that, but you also want to have a kids film that is for Dutch kids, that is about Dutch kids and not about American kids, you know. Last word. This is this is a serious subject, especially like the girl with the red hair, Hannie Schaft. She died. You know, she died for what she believed in, and she is honored now. And watching this movie will honor her and her, or anyone like her. And go see the memorial on May 4th at 8 o'clock. 2 minutes of vigil. And that is, we can remember this horrible war and remember not to do it again. That's what it is about. This is bad. We don't want this. This is why you want to watch a film like that, even though it's horrible to watch. So to remind yourself, we don't want this. We don't want this. And that's my opinion. And I'm sticking to it.